Welcome to the Period Besties Podcast with Stasha and Katie. Think about it as chatting with your best friends about all the TMI stuff you've never talked about before with two period coaches who've been helping hormones collectively for over 20 years now. I'm Stasha.
And I'm Katie, and we're pulling back the curtain on what it's like in the world of menstrual coaching. From puberty to menopause and everything in between, we're here to show you how period coaching can save the day. We'll share practical tips and information you can put to immediate use to improve your hormones and happiness.
We're removing the mystery, ending the taboo, and shining a light on just how powerful period coaching can be.
So whether you need period coaching or are considering becoming a period coach yourself, these episodes are going to help you. We'll share stories, coach live on air, and bring smart, savvy guests to share their wisdom too. Let's start today's episode.
Oh my goodness, we just had the best conversation about gut health with Rocsi. I feel like the best part about it was how she simplified everything, because you and I talk to our clients all the time about digestion and our gut. So anyone that's having any sort of bloating, digestive issues, hormone period things going on, you definitely have to listen to this episode because she's giving us some really awesome tips to help you.
Yeah, and people don't often associate things like acne with gut health. And to hear her talk about that as well was really interesting. And yeah, the gut health is just critical to healthy ovulation, a healthy menstrual cycle, all of those things. So if you are on your journey with your period, your gut health, ovulation, egg quality, any of those kinds of things, you really need to be paying attention to your gut. This episode is going to be really helpful. And I personally have been working on my gut health for 10 years, and I still notice when there's an incremental upgrade where it's like, oh, I've been doing this for 10 years and now I feel like this is even better, or that kind of thing. So it's certainly an ongoing journey. So even if you feel like, oh yeah, no, I've done the gut health changes, you may want to have a listen because there might be something that you've missed or a new technique or just something that you may want to try out and test on yourself. So I hope you enjoy this episode. It's fantastic, and we'll see you in the interview. Welcome back to Period Besties Podcast, everyone. Today we have the amazing Rocsi with us. She's going to dive into a lot of information. I'm really excited about this one because Katie and I harp on and on about gut health and the cycle. And so I think this is going to be a great deep dive today on that topic. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
We're thrilled to have you. So kick us off. Same question we ask everybody. Tell us who you are. What do you do?
Of course. So thanks so much again for having me. I'm Rocsi. I work as a period recovery nutritionist. And that basically means that I cover a lot of topics in the work with my clients because, as we know, there's so many reasons for which you can lose your period, from PCOS to thyroid imbalances, etc. And nutrition plays a huge part in that, and that ties in with our topic today, gut health. That is what I do, and the clients that I work with usually come to me with problems such as PCOS, PMS, fertility issues like no ovulation, delayed periods, not understanding how to track their cycle, their cervical fluid, and other biomarkers. So my work revolves around helping people tune into their body, empower them, and allow them to understand how to actually use the knowledge that I share with them about their cyclical bodies and what part does nutrition play into all that.
Totally makes sense. I love it. What a great idea.
I feel like so many of our conversations with clients are about gut health, like bloating, bowel movements. I'm always shocked, but not shocked when people are like, oh yeah, I have 1 to 2 bowel movements a week.
Yeah.
Because I'm like pretty regular.
Like I always say, if the first thing that you do in the morning is not go to the bathroom to poop, then you are not doing something right. And if you go to the bathroom exactly after you eat, then something is wrong as well. So you have to be in that sweet spot where you go every day. It has to be first thing when you wake up because you had dinner, hopefully. And then maybe one more time if you have another meal or a few meals in the day. But it's absolutely essential that you don't just go 2 times a week. So I'm glad you brought that up. We'll talk about that.
Yeah. I'm always like, okay, that's what we got to start with. We've got to figure out why you're not going to the bathroom regularly. So, because we're talking about the gut today and menstrual health, like what is that connection? Walk us through that, because I think sometimes when we talk about gut health, people are like, but I'm here for my period. Like, what does this have to do with that? So, I would love to hear you share with us.
Okay, so in order for me to explain the gut period connection, I have to go back to where it all starts in the brain. And this will make sense in a second because basically all your hormones are kicked off in something called the hypothalamus and pituitary, which are the hypothalamus is the CEO of our organs and endocrine glands, and the pituitary gland is the project manager. These two guys are running, or these two ladies, let's call them ladies, why not? These two ladies are running the show. Like they run all other endocrine glands that we have, and they tell them when to produce hormones, when to stop production of hormones, when the feedback loop breaks, etc. Basically, your gut and your brain communicate constantly. And if the brain or the pituitary and hypothalamus, I'll refer to that as pituitary and hypothalamus, if the brain doesn't receive the signals that the gut has received enough nutrients, such as, for example, when you have anorexia or you're malnourished or you're not eating enough meals, etc., then the brain will not be able to kickstart the production of, among other things, cycle hormones like luteinizing hormone, follicle stimulating hormone, and this will impact the production of estrogen and progesterone. You're not going to be ovulating and you're going to run into all sorts of troubles. I always say that let's not forget that the reproductive hormonal cycle, it's a nice to have. It's not essential for survival. It's something that we must strive to have because it's healthy for us to have it. But your brain will never prioritize that over the production of insulin or cortisol or thyroid hormone because you need those three to be able to survive. So when things go south, when this feedback between the hypothalamus and pituitary and your other organs, let's say cortisol, is not positive, the brain receives a negative signal saying, because your brain is always scanning your organs and your endocrine glands to understand if enough hormones are being produced for you to survive and thrive. If the signal that goes back to the brain is negative, the brain is going to act on it and is going to prioritize what keeps us alive. As I said, cortisol, thyroid hormone, insulin. When this can translate into the cycle as at the point where the brain is going to prioritize the connection between all your other endocrine glands and the fact that they're not going well, the reproductive health is going to take a back seat. So in that way, that's how basically the endocrine system works. Now, where the gut interferes is if you're not having enough nutrients, your brain, again, is going to receive a negative feedback and it's going to be like, whoa, this person does not have enough. Just like with the case with cortisol and thyroid, this person is not going to have enough nutrients to reproduce, is not going to be able to sustain a healthy baby. We're not going to be able to ovulate. We're just not going to do that for this person because we have to prioritize other things. So it takes those nutrients from that, sends it to the main organs that keep you alive. And then, as I said, reproduction takes a back seat. So that is why the gut health is so central to menstrual health, because if there are not enough nutrients available to absorb, your vital functions will take a front seat over your fertility and monthly cycle.
We're just like nodding. We're like,
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, it's one of the things that Katie and I have both noticed with our clients where a lot of them are just undernourished. They may be eating, but they're not eating like nutritionally dense foods, or they have a really leaky gut, or they're just not getting that nutrition in. So they're undernourished and they're seeing those same issues where they're not ovulating regularly, which really is the star of the cycle, ovulation, as much as we talk about periods because it's obvious. It's that ovulation really is the key in the menstrual cycle, and especially for the long-term health, right? To make progesterone, to have the cardiovascular protection, the bone density, all of those things, and short-term health, frankly, sleep, mood, all that kind of stuff. Ovulation is really that star of the show. And like you said, if you're not getting the nutrients, you can't ovulate. You don't have what you need to ovulate. And I remember reading something ages ago about how it takes about 100 days for the follicles to renew and regenerate if they've been nutrient starved. So like taking a zinc supplement, you need to give it a good solid 3 months to making sure that, and then, if you're not dealing with the gut health, you just have a leaky gut, you're not really eating well, you're not absorbing things, then you're taking a supplement that's just flowing through you anyway.
Exactly. And this is what I tell my clients all the time. They come to me. So I have a framework that I use with my clients that obviously is tailored to every person. But what I find the most is that people come to me and they say, I've tried everything. I don't know what else to do. Like, I'm eating so well. And then we actually use this framework, which includes a plan tracker, because I don't care about calories. I care that you eat diverse and consistent. So that's what I always tell people. I eat so well. And they do. They come to me with 40 different plants in their weekly diets. And they're like, what's wrong with me? Why am I not seeing these improvements in my cycle? And as you were saying, you need at least 90 days, because the way that you are feeling right now, it's a reflection of what happened 3 months ago. Things are not quick in our body. You need to give it time. And then the other problem is, if I'm eating so well, why am I not getting better mood, better skin, better, all those things that you get as a secondary positive side effect from a healthy gut? And I'm like, how do you feel after you eat so much food? Oh, I feel so groggy. I'm so tired. I'm bloated. I'm so gassy. I'm in so much pain. And I'm like, yeah, that means your gut is not in a place for it to be able to take all that you're giving it. You can give it so much good food, but if you're not doing it in the right way, then you're not going to see a lot of benefit from it. You're literally flushing money down the toilet on expensive organic groceries, and you're not really getting much out of it. So there's always an order to doing these things. And yeah, it's not starting with having 40 plants a week if it makes you feel worse than if you'd have 20. That's one thing that I really want to put out there, because I feel like this is such a common mistake that I see among the people that I work with or that I just simply speak to. And I feel everyone should know that's not the right way to do it.
Absolutely. I feel like we've been talking a lot lately about breakfast and protein in your breakfast, and we get a lot of pushback from people who are like, I just can't eat that much in the morning. And you can't go from like a piece of toast to 30 grams of protein in one day. You cannot just make that happen. You have to, and even at that, I have 2 breakfasts. I have half before calls, and then after calls, I have like the other half of breakfast. And so I get my 30 grams in. It takes 2 hours, but it's there. It's about making it work for you and your lifestyle, but you can't just turn around one day. Like, you have to ramp up into these things and do that prep work and help your body adjust. It's a bit of a shock to the system to go all at once.
It is. And as you said, I feel like there's so much pushback on a lot of things that are so essential, but there's so much money spent on a lot of things that are so unnecessary. So what are you doing spending hundreds of pounds on red light masks and supplements and what have you, 12 steps of natural skincare routines, whatever, to support your hormones? And what is even that if you don't eat breakfast?
You wouldn't need 12 skincare things if you had a healthy gut.
There's a place and time for that. If you want to optimize all those things, kudos to you that you can afford to do it and you have the determination to stick to it. But I feel like I always say that people forgot how to eat. Every single person that I've worked with, no exception, regardless if you have PCOS, adenomyosis, endometriosis, PMS, missing cycles, whatever, they came to me saying, I've tried everything, but they just don't know how to eat. They show me their diets, and I'm not judging. I genuinely don't judge, because it's not anyone's fault. It's the society in which we live in, making expensive food, healthy food expensive, and the alternative cheaper. And we can also talk about efficient ways, cost-efficient ways to add great things to your plate that won't leave you without any cash, or it won't affect your budget too much. So we can talk about that too. But yeah, it's people forgot how to eat. And I feel like if we would go back to those basics, it would be such an impactful way to manage our menstrual health, because there is so much research in the past maybe couple of years that links gut dysbiosis. And gut dysbiosis is when, for anyone listening that doesn't know what that is when we have too many negative gut bugs in our gut, as opposed to the good bad gut bugs ratio. So you have good bugs and you have bad bugs. And if you have too many of the bad guys, then you have something called dysbiosis, and that has been linked to 23 of those negative bacteria. I don't know the names. They're like this long. For anyone who watches this, they're like 1 kilometer long. I don't know how to pronounce them, but they've been linked to PCOS, incidences of PMDD. Actually, one of the causes for women getting PCOS is those negative gut bugs, PMS, and other disorders. So I think it's vitally important that first we start there, relearn how to eat, and then move on to like fancier schmancier things that, if you have time to do them, great for you. If not, you're still good with the foundation.
It's so true. I feel like Stasha and I, that's the basis of all of our conversations. It's like, you want these like fancy things, but you really just need to eat more, drink more water, like the basics. I'm always going back to the basics, and everyone's like, but if it's this easy, like, why can't I do it? And just like you said, we've overcomplicated
everything so much. Yeah, I'm in shock and awe every day. There's a new thing every day. I don't know. Someone said, posted on Instagram, and I saw it and I laughed because they said the new trend: bark under the moon if you want to get your cycle on time. Oh, great. Another thing.
I do that anyway, so
Yeah, it's my regular Wednesday.
I'm super curious. How did you get started in this? What was the impetus to jumping into this menstrual world?
So for me, it started, I have a long journey for about 10 years before I discovered that all my menstrual problems were linked with that gut health. I was diagnosed with an ulcer from not knowing how to eat well when I was 14. And then I got my period around the time, and I started having a lot of pain with my period, like a lot. I was going to the emergency room. My mom had to take me to the emergency room every month. I was bleeding so heavily. I was in so much pain. I couldn't move from the couch. I was like, feet up the wall, hands in this position. Don't move a centimeter because it's going to hurt again. Like extremely, like those kind of things. And of course, I went to the gynecologist, and they've asked me to take the birth control pill because I had cysts when I had my periods. And that's why I should take the pill. And I was like, oh, great. Thanks. Finally, after 2 years, I think I was around 16. I was 2 years into having extremely unmanageable periods. So I went there and they gave me the pill. And of course, I took the pill. And then magically, everything was like, wow, everything was great. I was having periods that were on time. I was no longer in pain. I had really terrible back acne that disappeared. So I was like, oh my God, where has this magic pill been all my life? So I stayed on it until I was about I stayed on it until for 6 years or so. But then that things started to shift. I started getting panic attacks like 3 years into the pill. My gut was terrible. I couldn't eat anything. I was going days without eating because I was so bloated and in pain. And then my panic attacks were really unmanageable. I can't remember my university years because it was just like I was going from panic attack to panic attack, and it was just really hard for me to manage my life. And I just withdrew a lot. So that was on the psychological side of things. It was terrible. So I was like, I had an intuition. I was like, maybe the pill is something that's making me this bad because I've never had this in my life. I didn't even know what was it. I spent 5 years trying to understand, what am I feeling? Like, what is this impending sense of doom? Like, what is going on with me? And of course, there was still a lot of stigma around there, and I was ashamed to ask. I didn't know what to say. So I just coped with the panic attacks. And then one day I woke up and I was like, hold on a second, this doesn't feel right. So I decided to quit the pill. And then what do you know? In 2 or 3 months, my panic attacks got better and my anxiety also got better. But what got worse were my gut symptoms. I didn't have a period for a few months. And at that point, I didn't know how important it was to have a period. So I didn't pay too much attention to it. but I started gaining weight. I gained 10 kilograms in 6 months, which is a lot because I'm really tiny. I started not being able to get out of bed in the morning. And then I just felt horrible all the time. My hair started falling out, my nails were breaking. And I was like, what is going on? And then I went to an endocrinologist and they diagnosed me with Hashimoto's thyroiditis. And then I was like, okay, now it's time to crack the whip and understand what is going on. The pill didn't work. And so I decided to start doing my own research in terms of what was going on. So it turns out any autoimmune condition, it has three components. And as a third component, it has the gut. So if there's some issues with the gut, then your immune system will get into overdrive and it will create antibodies. In my case, it was thyroid antibodies. And then those were elevated and that gave me my symptoms. So I started with understanding a lot about my gut because, as I mentioned earlier, I think that I had an ulcer when I was 14. And I thought, okay, first let's start with this because I had so many other problems with my cycle, but I just wanted to start somewhere that was a bit more manageable. So I started with that. I started with nutrition. I focused for 2 years on my gut health, and that got better. And my autoimmune condition went into remission, but my periods were still terrible. At that point, I started tracking my cycle. I didn't ovulate for 2 years after I got off the pill. My cycle was all over the place. It was still extremely painful. The problems I had before came back. So I started looking into cycle tracking and understanding what else do I have to do in order to get my periods being regular and pain-free. And as I was healing my gut more and more, my PMS was going away, my cyclical migraines were getting better, my anxiety was getting even better. And so at this point today, I've had, I think it's 42 months of monthly ovulation, which I'm like super proud of because after so long without an ovulation. And in the past 6 months, it's been 6 to 10 months or so, my period has been really regular. But in the course of this journey, I decided to dedicate some time to study and I applied to the Association for Nutrition of UK to get my certified nutritionist diploma and went on to study to become a menstrual cycle coach and just general practitioner for and advocate for women's health because I really went through so much endocrinologically speaking and mentally speaking with autoimmune condition diagnosis, with a stomach ulcer, with periods that were irregular, painful, PMS ridden, and many other things. So I just really wanted to, and in the course of these 10 years that I was really trying to get myself better, I've been dismissed by doctors. I've had a lot of negative experiences. I'm sure you two can relate, or you've heard someone. I mean, you can throw a stone in a group of women, and 20 out of 21 will have had a negative encounter with the doctor, unfortunately. So I just wanted to create a space, one, for women to be fully understood and just feel like they're not gaslit and their pain matters, even though it doesn't show in medical tests, because many a times we just don't test for women's biomarkers. We test based on how the blood tests many times in many instances were developed on male cells, male bodies, etc. So that doesn't necessarily show for women. And that makes our life even harder. And I just also wanted to make it simple because I didn't have one trajectory. I had so many paths that I had to take in order to get to where I am today. And I just wanted to make it simpler for women. So that's my journey on where I've been and where I am and why am I in this beautiful space that I'm so happy to be in.
I love it. And obviously, I don't love that you had to go through all of it, but I love that you shared because so many people listening have probably been on similar journeys, especially with the birth control pill and then getting off of it and their gut is completely shifted and altered and they're not getting their periods, they're breaking out, all those things. So I would like you to dive into a little bit more about that gut ovulation period relationship and why it's so important. Like all of our listeners to really understand like what's happening, whether you've been on the pill or not, and how that's actually affecting that key component of our health with ovulation.
Yeah, of course, there's a very powerful connection between our gut health and menstrual cycle or ovulation or periods in general. So we know that gut health impacts cognitive function, memory, regulates emotion. And as I mentioned earlier, we now know as well that there's 23 gut bugs that, if present, they contribute to menstrual disorders such as PCOS, PMS, PNDD. And we see in clinical trials that subjects that have more gram-negative bacteria experience more anxiety, depression, and risks of PCOS. And with PCOS literature, we also see that gut microbiome can cause insulin resistance, hyperandrogenism, chronic inflammation, all those things that will lead to a PCOS diagnosis. In terms of the actual menstrual cycle, and not disorders or conditions of the menstrual cycle, the gut creates hormones as well as it breaks them down and eliminates excess hormones such as estrogen, and which we know that if we have too much of, we have clot-filled periods, irregular cycles, painful bleeds, etc. Certain bacteria, in terms of the gut, certain bacteria in your gut community, let's call it a community because I love that, are tasked with managing estrogen metabolism. So that means this community within your microbiome is called the estrobolome, and estrogen is produced mainly in your ovaries and circulated all through your body, where it acts on tissue and organs, and eventually the active estrogen gets filtered out through the liver, which deactivates it and sends it to the gut. But if it doesn't get out of the gut when you go to the bathroom, then your body has the ability to re-enter it into circulation, causing it to be in excess. So this is amongst others, this is one of the most powerful connection between our gut and our period, and how can having excess estrogen impact us if we don't go to the bathroom frequently. And to your point, Katie, what we were talking about earlier, you have to go, you can't just go once a week. You can, but you really should look into if you do. You should aim to go every day. If possible, maybe some women have less regularity than that, but it's still their normal, but at least 3 to 4 times a week, I would say, if not every day. That's something to aim for if you want to make sure you get that estrogen out of your body and it doesn't re-enter circulation. In terms of how it impacts ovulation, your gut, I would like to say that we have 3 cycles: the hormonal cycle, the ovarian cycle, and the uterine cycle. The hormonal cycle is, we all know it is, estrogen is predominant in the first part of the cycle. Then we get into ovulation, where we have some testosterone. Hopefully after ovulation, we get progesterone if we ovulate, and the hormones fluctuate throughout the month. The ovarian cycle is the follicle development. What Stasha was saying earlier, that it takes 90 days in order for a follicle to develop. So if your cycle sucks now, it's PMS-ridden, it's painful, look into what happened 3 months ago. And then the uterine cycle is basically how the lining of the uterus thickens throughout the month. We need key nutrients to maintain all these 3 cycles throughout the month. We need iron, we need selenium, we need zinc, vitamin B12, vitamin E, magnesium, and calcium. I think these are the main ones. We can take all of this from a whole foods rich diet, but without a healthy gut, we cannot absorb these vitamins and minerals that we need for these 3 monthly cycles to happen. And these deficiencies absolutely impact our chances to ovulate, have good fertility, PMS-free cycles, and monthly regular cycles. And another important thing to say is there's multiple reasons for which you cannot absorb these vitamins and minerals. So perhaps you're not having a diet rich enough in these vitamins and minerals, or most likely if you do, is the case with many of my clients, it means you experience something called leaky gut. Leaky gut is, I'm going to try to make this visual, because if you're putting this on YouTube, I have found that it's much easier for people to look at it. And if it's not, I'll try to explain it verbally as well. But basically, leaky gut is your gut has some very tight junctions that keep the food that you eat in the gut. And they look like this. They're like when you intertwine your fingers, nothing gets past that. But the problem arises when we have inflammatory foods, or we have the pill, or we have too much alcohol. And that kind of creates an inflammation that can be so elevated that it can untighten these junctions. It can create a little bit of space. So what that happens in the case of leaky gut, when there's space in the junctions of the gut, means that some food proteins from the gut go into the bloodstream, triggering an immune response, which can trigger inflammation, which, as I said, can trigger the creation of antibodies because your body is trying to fight that inflammation. And ultimately, what it can mean for your body is that your gut cannot absorb the vitamins and minerals from the nutrients that you're giving it, resulting in an impact on your reproductive health, where we can have delayed ovulation, we can have no ovulation at all, we can have painful periods because of inflammation, because we know that your period is an inflammatory event, and if you add more inflammation on top of that, it can cause a lot of pain. And yeah, it's just eating, as I said, eating good food is not necessarily just enough. If your gut is not healthy, it will impact your 3 monthly cycles.
So let's say that you're meeting with somebody and they're maybe eating healthy, but obviously something's not working in the gut. What would say like your top 3 things, like really practical top 3 things to do to improve your gut health?
I would first ask them, do you eat fiber before meals? Because that can help us maintain a steady blood sugar level, which can help us keep energy and inflammation down, which can and will directly impact the gut. So I would always say have fiber before meals.
Love it.
Because let's say someone is saying, I'm eating so healthy, I'm eating so much kefir and so much sauerkraut and so much kimchi, but I'm not really seeing results. I would ask this question in relation to that: do you eat fiber? Because those bugs that you're creating with all the fermented foods that you're eating need food to survive, and the only food for those is fiber. So make sure you eat enough fiber. If they're coming to me and saying, I'm eating enough fiber and I'm having a lot of diversity, but I feel so bloated and my belly hurts all the time and I'm constipated and I'm having a lot of issues with my gut, I would then ask them, do you eat fermented foods? Because you cannot have one without the other. If they're doing these 2 things, I would also look into the fact if they're actually have done it for a sufficient enough time, and if, depending on what stage they're at, how are they eating? Because as I said earlier, if your body is not ready to receive all the amazing food that you're giving it, you're wasting it. So it's better to ask the person what stage they're at in their gut healing journey. And if they say, oh, I've been eating so well for so long, but I'm not seeing results, I would suggest to actually start cooking their foods instead of having a lot of raw fibers. Because when you cook like a curry, for example, and you can pack like 20 plants in there, and there's your weekly target. If you cook a curry, you help break down those fibers from the foods, and that is much easier for your body to digest it and actually absorb what it needs to absorb from it. So yeah, I guess I would start by saying, make sure you cook your foods. Don't just start with beans and really harsh fibers, because that's going to make it worse. Don't necessarily go for 40 plants. Maybe start smaller, but go gradually and increase. And make sure you incorporate both fiber before meals as well as fermented foods to maintain a healthy balance of good to bad gut bugs in the gut.
Those are awesome suggestions and simple suggestions, which I love, because I think, again, with gut health, we can overcomplicate it. And one thing too that I'm always talking to my clients about, I'm sure all of you too, is just slowing down and actually chewing your food and eating longer than 5 minutes for a meal.
That's so true. What is it that if you eat super fast, you also swallow a lot of air, right? And that can make you more gassy, more bloated. It can actually even lead to pain. And you'll be like, why am I eating foods that I always ate, but now I'm feeling pain after eating? It's because if you vacuum your food, then that's what you're going to get.
My
That's
gosh.
great advice.
It's so good. I feel like we could go on and on forever, but I know we have to wrap up. So before we get into the lightning round questions, can you share with the audience, where can people find you? Tell us a little bit about your free gift.
Absolutely. So you can find me at Speakeasy Health on Instagram as well as YouTube if you'd like to learn more about some topics that I speak about. I also have a website, again, Speakeasy Health Nutrition. So it's Speakeasy Health all around, very easy to find me. I'm pretty much everywhere, LinkedIn, Facebook, TikTok. I try to extend my reach. So yeah, you can find me there. And in terms of the gift that I shared with you, I'm really excited to talk to you about it because it's about, we haven't had a chance to touch on it, but it's really important to track your cycle. So the way that I created this free resource to share with everyone is it's a cycle tracker or a fertility awareness tracker, which is going to teach you how to track your biomarkers and understand if at any point in your cycle something looks off. So it basically teaches you how to use your cycle as a diagnostic tool to understand and use that data to see where things go wrong in your cycle. Is it around ovulation? Is it right before your period that you're spotting? What's going on? So you can use that with so much confidence. Hundreds of other women do, and they love it. And it's so simple. And has a graph in there that you can actually see your basal body temperature fluctuating, which I love a visual. So yeah, it's an amazing tool to understand your cycle a bit better, use the data, and use it as a diagnostic tool.
Love it. Such a great idea. I mean, Katie and I talk all about the importance of charting and tracking and all that stuff. So don't worry, our audience knows.
Yeah, it's really amazing. I love it when people talk about it.
Yeah, great. So we'll have all of that in show notes. So anyone listening, if you want to grab it, the link is in the show notes and you can grab it there. Ready for the lightning round?
Yeah, I'm nervous. Let's go.
Oh, it's fun. It's going to be a good time. All right.
And go with your gut.
Exactly. Go with the gut.
Oh, okay. It's on topic today.
So what's your number one self-care go-to for when you're stressed out?
Journaling. I just did a session before a podcast. I do one before every speaking event because it calms me down.
Oh, I love that. What's your favorite book?
Ooh, so many, but I'd have to go with Nicole Jardim, How to Fix Your No, sorry, Jolene Brighton. What's the name? Beyond the Pill. Yeah, that's one of my go-to. I've been reading it and rereading it. Yeah, she's amazing. I love her. If you're listening, I love you.
Both very good books, honestly. So you couldn't go wrong with either of those. What's
Yeah.
one thing you can't live without?
My teas, my daily teas. Nettle, peppermint, and can I also say raspberry leaf tincture? I make three or four of those a day. It's just a ritual.
Awesome. Do you have a favorite snack and what is it?
Hummus, anything with hummus, carrots, pepper, artichokes with hummus, cucumber with hummus, anything. Like just chop it up and gobble it down when I'm hungry and when I want a snack.
It's my favorite follicular snack for sure. What's your guilty pleasure?
Binge watching trashy TV. Like I love a good, what's it called? I don't even know how they're called, but I know I love them. It's like stuff like Naked Attraction. I just love to just sit down and just, I'm just gonna shut my brain down for 5 hours.
Oh, we'll have to have a trashy TV talk after.
Oh, great. Yeah, let's do it. I want some suggestions.
Oh my God, I just watched, I'll tell you after so we don't,
Yeah.
but Secret Lives of Mormon Wives. If you could live anywhere and cost didn't matter, where would you live?
Bali. I was lucky enough to have lived there for 5 months not long ago. I loved it and I want to go back. I really want to live there again for a few more months at least.
God, I think all three of us would live in Bali.
So have you been?
Yeah.
Well, we have to talk about that too. Okay, Bali.
Oh yeah. It's in major contention for our honeymoon, and I just because I just want to go back.
Yeah, it's just so beautiful, so spiritual, so free, so amazing. The food, oh God, just the energy is incredible.
Oh, the energy.
Yeah, the food was where I was like, you have
Yeah.
food. What's your favorite season?
This is hard. I love spring, but I thrive in the summer.
Most loved and most hated food.
Most hated cauliflower. Most loved. Can it be a recipe, like a type of food, or it has to be one ingredient?
Okay.
A curry. I can make a curry out of anything and I would love it.
Same. What's your favorite movie?
Should I give the real answer? I don't know.
Yes.
Okay. The real answer is The Shining. I watched it like 8 times. I read the book 4 times. The appropriate answer would be, let me think of a more appropriate movie. One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. I just love Jack Nicholson. I'm a huge fan of Jack Nicholson. I had a poster in one of my apartments in London. It was huge, like 1 by 1, 2 by 1. He was like right there above my bed. My partner made me take it off when he moved in. I was like,
That's awesome. What's a hobby you have that most people don't know about?
oh, you wouldn't be a secret anymore. What's a hobby that I have? I'm pretty transparent. Well, I love the gym, but everyone knows about it because I don't shut up about it. Yeah, I think I would just say the gym. I don't really have other cooking. I love cooking, but everyone knows about it. I don't have any secret hobbies. I hope. Can I say an aspiring hobby? I really want to start dancing classes. Like, I don't know, how do you even call them? But just like dancing lessons, maybe some Latino dancing lessons. I'd really love that. But I haven't done that yet. So that's like an aspiring future hobby.
I like it. Like an aspiring hobby. And best concert you've ever been to?
Red Hot Chili Peppers in London. Oh, I've always wanted to go see them. It was amazing. I cried when they played Californication. It's so beautiful.
I saw them in the 90s. They were hilarious.
They just, I don't know. I love all their songs. I don't know. They just caught me really tightly in high school and I just never let go.
Yeah. All right, last question. What's your ideal weekend?
My ideal weekend would start off with some tea because I can't live my life without tea. I'd go for a really long hike, like 2 or 3 hours hike in a place that I've never been. I'd read my book, any kinds of either fictional or not non-fictional books. Either I'm learning or I'm just relaxing my brain. And I would go to bed by 9 p.m. with my red light filter on, listening to some, or actually no, scrolling through puppy reel videos because that's my guilty pleasure. Before, sometimes when I want to wind down, I just want to watch like funny puppy videos. Yeah, but it has to necessarily include a walking nature, some tea, a red light filter on, and some puppies. Like that would be my ideal weekend.
Oh, that sounds magical. I love it.
Yeah.
Thank you
And
so much for joining us today. We definitely need to have you back on and continue our conversation about the gut. But thank you so much for taking this time. And for everyone listening, go grab her free gift. So much valuable information. You probably want to listen to this twice.
Yeah.
See you soon, Period Besties, and have a great day. Bye for now.
A big shout out and thank you to our sponsors for today's episode, Period Coaching School and Katie Bresek Wellness.
Thanks to you, our favorite bestie, for listening to the Period Besties Podcast, where no topic is TMI. And of course, share this episode with your besties.
Remember to leave us a 5-star review, nothing less than the best for us besties, and subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts.
You can follow us on Instagram at Stasha Washburn and at Katie Bresak, or email us at periodbestiespodcast@gmail.com.
Check out more about us at katiebresak.com and periodcoachingschool.com. And of course, check the show notes for free goodies and extras that support this episode.
We'll see you on the next episode.
Bye for now, besties.